Hello everyone. This is Anime Octopus. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we continue our fanfiction journey with Dark Naruko Arc, Part 2. The story dives deeper into Naruko's transformation, exploring darker emotions, intense conflicts, and the path that shapes her destiny. Disclaimer: this content is created purely for entertainment and discussion purposes. I do not own any anime footage used in this video. All rights and credits belong to their respective creators and copyright holders. Now, let's begin. There was a soft shuffle of paper in the quiet office. So, the Hokage began, peering over his desk. You were unsatisfied with only learning the shadow clone technique and decided to learn something else from the scroll? Naruko sat up straight in her chair, her bright eyes shining. Yep. And instead of studying a simple elemental technique, he continued carefully, you chose to look into a revival technique? She nodded eagerly. Uh-huh. It sounded amazing. The Hokage paused, folding his hands together. And when you discovered it wasn't meant to be used so easily, you heard a mysterious voice guiding you? Naruko scratched the back of her head with a sheepish grin. That's what I told you. I see, he said calmly. Then, using your creativity, you combined what you knew and somehow brought two very important figures back into the village. Naruko beamed. That's about it. The Hokage leaned back in his chair, letting out a long breath as he studied the three individuals in front of him. Despite the unusual situation, the room felt surprisingly peaceful. One of the newcomers, a cheerful man with kind eyes, looked around with wonder. It's been a long time since I've seen the village like this. It feels nice. Naruko crossed her arms, blushing slightly. And don't call me Naruko-chan like that. It's embarrassing. He laughed warmly. But it suits you. The other visitor stood quietly, observing everything with a thoughtful expression. This situation is unusual, she said in a measured tone. I tried walking away earlier, but it seems I cannot go too far from Naruko without feeling weaker. Until I understand why, I will remain here. The cheerful one clapped her hands together. Then it's settled. We can spend time together. Maybe even train Naruko. Naruko slumped in her chair, muttering to herself. Why does everyone keep deciding things for me? The Hokage hid a small smile and reached into his drawer. He pulled out two forehead protectors and gently tossed them forward. One landed neatly in the quiet visitor's hands, while the other lightly bounced off Naruko's head. Ow! Naruko rubbed her forehead. That wasn't fair. Careful, the Hokage said with a playful glint in his eyes. You wouldn't want to refuse becoming a Genin, would you? Naruko's expression changed instantly. No. I want it. She quickly tied the protector around her head, her excitement returning in full. The cheerful visitor leaned closer, arms open. Congratulations. That deserves a hug. Naruko squeaked and quickly stepped behind the quieter one. No hugs. Personal space. The quiet visitor sighed softly, though there was the faintest hint of amusement in her eyes. You do have a way of bringing energy into a room, don't you? Naruko peeked out from behind her, grinning. That's kind of my thing. The Hokage cleared his throat, bringing everyone's attention back to him. Now then. I have made a decision. The room grew still. You three will form a new team. Naruko blinked. A team? Yes, he said, nodding. You will work together, learn together, and grow together. The cheerful visitor clapped happily. That sounds wonderful. The quiet one gave a small nod. I will cooperate. Naruko looked between them, surprise slowly turning into excitement. Wait. Really? We're a team? The Hokage smiled warmly. Yes. Team 11. For a moment, there was silence as the idea settled in. Then. What? Naruko's voice rang out, equal parts shock and delight. The cheerful visitor laughed, the quiet one allowed herself a small smile, and the Hokage leaned back in his chair, already imagining the lively days ahead. It might not have been a traditional team, but it was one full of potential, curiosity, and unexpected friendship, and that, he thought, was a very good place to begin. A loud crash echoed through the small apartment. Jennings! Jennings! Madara paced back and forth, clearly upset. I cannot believe this. Please calm down, Madara, Hashirama said gently. If you keep pacing like that, you might knock something else over. Calm down? Madara stopped and crossed his arms. I will not calm down, Hashirama. This must have been done on purpose. I am certain of it. Nearby, Naruko tilted her head, then suddenly broke into a mischievous grin. So this was the old man's idea of a joke, huh? Well? I think we should respond in our own way. Hashirama blinked in surprise. That was quite a dramatic tone for a young girl, though her playful spark made it clear she wasn't truly upset, just inspired. Madara, however, leaned in with interest. What do you have in mind? Naruko hurried to the table and spread out several sheets of paper. They were filled with drawings, notes, and colorful sketches. A prank, she said proudly. A big one. Hashirama stepped closer, studying the plans. His calm expression slowly turned into a warm smile. This is quite creative. Madara's lips curved into a grin as well. I must admit, this is impressive. Naruko beamed. Right? Everyone gets a part. That way, it's a team effort. Madara pointed at one section. I will take this one. Hashirama nodded thoughtfully and selected another. Then I will handle this part. Naruko looked at what remained and clapped her hands. Perfect. I'll do the last one, and we can all work together on the final touch. The three of them exchanged knowing smiles. All right, Naruko said, raising her hand dramatically. Team 11, let's make this unforgettable. Dash. The next morning. Hokage-sama. Hokage-sama. Hiruzen looked up from his desk as a Chunin rushed into the room. Yes. What is it? The Hokage monument, it's been decorated. Hiruzen sighed and stood, walking to the window. When he looked out, his eyes widened. The great stone faces had been transformed. Hashirama's face was painted in bright, cheerful colors, with the words Konoha's kindest Hokage written neatly beneath. Tobirama's face had been given an entirely new style, complete with imaginative patterns and a playful redesign that made him look almost like a character from a storybook. Minato's face was covered in swirling doodles and gentle whisker-like marks, along with a small, carefully drawn symbol that looked like a fan. Hiruzen's own face had been decorated with an assortment of colorful shapes, flowers, and cheerful messages. Across the top were the words, From Team 11, with creativity. Hiruzen blinked, then let out a long sigh. I see. He returned to his desk, only to notice something unusual. His pipe was empty. Opening a drawer, he found it neatly cleaned out, with a small note placed inside. He picked it up and read. Dash. Hello, old man. We thought things felt a little unfair yesterday, so we decided to brighten your morning instead. We hope you liked the monument. It took a lot of teamwork. Don't worry, the colors will fade soon. Except for one special surprise. Have a wonderful day. Sincerely. Team 11. Hashirama. Madara. Naruko. P.S. We tidied up your drawer for you. Dash. Hiruzen looked back out the window just as most of the colors began to gently fade, leaving only Hashirama's bright, cheerful portrait behind. For a moment, he was silent. Then, despite himself, a small smile appeared. Those children, he murmured. Back at the apartment, Naruko sat with her teammates, giggling. That was amazing, she said, swinging her legs happily. "Did you see his face?" Hashirama chuckled warmly. "It certainly brought some color to the village." Madara smirked. "A successful operation." Naruko stretched and smiled brightly. "Next time, let's do something even more fun, something that makes everyone smile." And with that, Team 11's laughter filled the room, their bond stronger than ever. Hashirama laughed warmly. "Looks like Saru got our gift." "So it seems," Madara replied, his voice calm and thoughtful. "What are we going to do now?" Naruko asked, her bright blue eyes sparkling with curiosity. She tilted her head, her golden hair catching the sunlight. "Clothes shopping." "Clothes shopping?" Naruko blinked in surprise. "Clothes shopping," Hashirama confirmed with a wise nod. "You look very lively in that orange outfit, Naru-chan. But if you want people to take you seriously as a shinobi, you might try something a little more balanced." Madara crossed his arms. "As much as I dislike agreeing with him, he's right. Bright orange is hard to ignore." "But it's my style," Naruko said, puffing her cheeks slightly in a playful pout. Hashirama gently spun her around with a grin. "Styles can grow and change. Today, we discover a new one. Maybe something bold, like red samurai armor." He raised his hand dramatically toward the sky. Madara sighed. "Hashirama, please stop posing. We're almost there." Naruko's expression softened, but a hint of worry crept in. Her smile faded just a little. "Do you think they'll let me into the shops? I've been asked to leave before." Hashirama placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Don't worry, Naru-chan. We're with you. No one will turn you away today." Madara glanced around as people quietly watched them pass by. "They're already staring," he noted. Naruko looked around too, then gave a small, determined nod. "That's okay. I'll just smile back." Together, they walked into the shinobi shopping district, a lively place filled with colorful fabrics, tools, and friendly chatter. The shops displayed everything a ninja might need, from sturdy sandals to neatly folded uniforms. They stopped in front of a well-kept clothing store. Inside the window were simple yet elegant outfits, dark shirts, comfortable pants, and neatly arranged gear. "We won't get too much," Madara said, examining a row of neatly hung shirts. "Just a good base outfit, something practical and comfortable." Naruko wandered over to a display of mesh underlayers, gently touching the fabric. "This feels strong but light," she said thoughtfully. "Exactly," Hashirama said with a nod. "And for the outer layer, we can find something special later." Naruko turned back to them. "Where would I get armor like that?" Hashirama smiled. "We might still have some in the old Senju storage. It's well crafted and made to last." Naruko's eyes widened. "But I'm not a Senju. I shouldn't wear something that belongs to them?" Madara considered her words carefully. She has a point. Hashirama crouched slightly so he could meet Naruko's eyes. "It's not about where you come from," he said gently. "It's about what you grow into. Armor doesn't decide who you are, you do." Naruko thought about that for a moment. Then her face brightened again, her confidence returning. "Then I'll choose something that feels right for me." "That's the spirit," Hashirama said with a cheerful laugh. Madara gave a small nod of approval. A wise decision. And with that, the three of them stepped inside the shop, ready to begin a new chapter, one stitch, one choice, and one smile at a time. Hashirama let out a long, tired sigh as they stepped out of the store, arms filled with neatly packed bags. The three of them made their way through the busy streets, drawing curious looks from passers-by. Naruko walked between them, glancing around with bright curiosity, as if the whole world was a grand adventure. "What about Uchiha armor? What do you think of that, Naruko?" Madara asked calmly, handing his share of the bags to Hashirama and nodding for Naruko to pass hers along as well. Hashirama wobbled slightly under the growing pile, making Naruko giggle. It was quite a funny sight. They had forgotten to bring storage scrolls that morning. Naruko tilted her head thoughtfully. Is it like yours? She asked, looking up at Madara. She thought his armor looked very impressive, sleek and bold. Hey! You said she couldn't wear Senju armor, Hashirama protested. Why can she wear Uchiha armor then? Madara simply ignored him. Yes, Madara answered Naruko. Is it heavy? She asked, her eyes wide with curiosity. Madara gave a small shrug. You get used to it. Naruko nodded. Okay then. See, Hashirama? My armor is better than yours, Madara said with quiet pride. No, it isn't, Hashirama replied immediately. Yes, it is. Even Naruko thinks so. Hashirama puffed his cheeks. Madara-chan. Where are we going, anyway? Madara paused. I don't actually know. Hashirama groaned. You're a lot of help. Madara raised an eyebrow. I haven't been in Konoha for a very long time, Hashirama. I think that's a fair excuse. Hashirama straightened. Well, I've been gone a long time too. So we're even. Naruko watched them with a small smile. They sounded less like legendary figures and more like two friends who couldn't stop bickering. Maybe we can drop the bags off at my place? She suggested. Madara and Hashirama both turned to her, blinking for a moment before her idea settled in. That's a good idea, Madara admitted. Of course it is. Hashirama said quickly. Do you expect me to carry all this stuff all day? Madara answered without missing a beat. Yes. Hashirama looked shocked. That's not fair. Naruko laughed softly. Come on, it's not much farther. As they walked, Hashirama suddenly pointed off to the side. Look. That person over there agrees with me. Madara glanced around. Which person? That one. Hashirama pointed again, this time in a different direction. Madara folded his arms. Hashirama, there's no one there. Hashirama blinked, then looked around again, puzzled. Really? Naruko giggled. Maybe you just imagined it. Hashirama chuckled sheepishly. Maybe I did. Madara smirked just a little. That sounds like you. Naruko clasped her hands behind her back, smiling as they continued on together. Even with all their differences, there was something warm and comforting about being with them, like walking between two very noisy, very caring guardians. And as they headed toward her home, the afternoon sun shone brightly above, making everything feel just a little more magical. We're starting off as Jinan today, team. Naruko adjusted the straps of her slightly oversized armor and tried to keep up as her teammates strode ahead. Her bright eyes sparkled with determination, even if the armor clinked loudly with every step. I still think we should be at least Jonin, Madara said, crossing his arms as he walked, his tone calm but stubborn. Hashirama laughed warmly. Madara, it's not that bad. Even if we were Jonin, we'd still be training together. And besides, we'd still have Naruko with us all the time anyway. Rank doesn't matter, we're still an amazing team. Madara replied, though the corner of his mouth lifted just a little. Oi! Wait up! This armor is heavy. Naruko called, hurrying after them. Hashirama turned and waved. Hurry up, Naruko, or we're going to be late. Hashirama, we are already late, Madara added dryly. Really? Hashirama blinked. Oh. Then come on, Naruko. Madara, run. Naruko puffed her cheeks as she jogged faster. Stop rushing me. I'm coming. Despite the rush, there was laughter in her voice. Even when things felt hectic, being with her teammates made everything brighter. Dash. Meanwhile, in another village far away, Aniki was having a very long day. It had started well enough. His joints felt better than usual, and the morning had been quiet and peaceful. He even had time to enjoy a calm cup of tea. But that peace didn't last. By the time he reached his office, 3 tall stacks of paperwork were waiting for him. Reports, requests, forms, each page seemed longer than the last. Hours passed as he carefully reviewed everything. When he finally leaned back in his chair for a short rest, he let out a slow sigh. Just then, the door swung open, and his granddaughter Kurotsuchi hurried in. "Grandfather. I found another lead. I want permission to investigate." Aniki listened patiently, then gently shook his head. "Not today. Focus on your current duties first." Kurotsuchi sighed but nodded before heading out again. Aniki turned back to his desk, and blinked. 2 more stacks of paperwork had somehow appeared. "This is going to be a long day," he murmured. Later, during a brief moment of quiet, a nervous Jonin entered the room, holding a folder tightly. "Reports from our observers," the Jonin said, placing them carefully on the desk. "They said it was urgent." Aniki opened the file and skimmed through the pages. Most of it was routine information, until a set of marked pages near the end caught his attention. A few photographs slipped out. He picked one up and studied it closely. His eyebrows rose in surprise. "Is this accurate?" he asked. "Yes, sir." Confirmed multiple times. Aniki leaned back, thoughtful. "This is unexpected." The Jonin hesitated. "There's more." "Oh?" Aniki looked up. "They've enrolled as Jinan." For a moment, there was silence. Then suddenly, Aniki burst into hearty laughter. "Jinan? Those 2? Oh, that's rich. Absolutely wonderful. Ha ha ha." He stopped abruptly, rubbing his side. "Ah. Perhaps I laughed a little too hard," he admitted, still smiling. The Jonin relaxed slightly, relieved to see his leader in good spirits. Aniki chuckled again, softer this time. "Well then. It seems the new generation is going to be quite interesting." Back in the training fields, Naruko finally caught up with her teammates. She took a deep breath, standing tall despite the weight of her armor. "I made it," she said proudly. Hashirama grinned. "Of course you did." Madara nodded once. "You didn't give up." Naruko smiled brightly. "I never do." The 3 stood together, ready to begin their journey, not as powerful legends, but as young Jinan learning, growing, and supporting one another every step of the way. "I suppose this news is true, then, Daru." "So it seems, sir. Konoha may become lively again." The 4th Raikage leaned back in his chair, turning it slowly while absent-mindedly lifting a small training weight. In his other hand, he held a photograph, studying it with a thoughtful expression. "How did we even get this? We don't have any scouts in Konoha right now." "It came from Iwa," Daru replied calmly. "We received it during a border patrol. They were willing to share information in exchange for safe passage." The Raikage set the picture down on his desk and spun once more, though his tone softened slightly. "Interesting. It's been a long time since I've seen anything that might shake things up. Perhaps this will bring a bit of excitement again." Daru simply nodded, used to his leader's restless energy. After a pause, the Raikage stopped spinning and looked up. "Where is B? He was meant to meet me earlier." Daru shifted slightly. "He mentioned heading toward Genbu Island a few days ago. He seemed quite enthusiastic about training there." The Raikage raised an eyebrow, then sighed. "That sounds like him. Always chasing new ideas." Just then, the office door opened, and Mabui entered carrying a stack of neatly organized papers. Daru glanced at her. "Mabui, I think we'll need to repair another window soon." She blinked, then sighed gently. "We should probably add that to this month's maintenance list." Despite the small inconveniences, the room felt calm again, filled with the quiet rhythm of planning and preparation. Dash. Far away, in a hidden laboratory, Orochimaru paced back and forth, deep in thought. Kabuto followed carefully, holding a notebook. Something has changed, Orochimaru said, his voice quieter than usual. Unexpected events are unfolding. Kabuto adjusted his glasses. Shall we gather more information? Yes, Orochimaru replied, pausing. But not out of frustration. Out of curiosity. The world is shifting, and I wish to understand it. Kabuto nodded, relieved at the calmer tone. Dash. Elsewhere, beneath a sky of gentle rain, Nagato stood quietly, watching the droplets ripple across the surface of the water below. The world continues to change, he murmured. Perhaps there is another path forward. A masked figure stood nearby but said nothing for a moment. Plans may evolve, the figure finally said. But understanding must come first. Nagato closed his eyes briefly, listening to the rain. Yes, he said. Understanding. Dash. And in the village hidden among the leaves, a bright and determined girl named Naruko stood atop a rooftop, gazing out over her home. Her golden hair danced in the breeze, and her eyes sparkled with hope. Things feel different today, she said softly to herself. Like something wonderful is about to happen. Naruko smiled, placing her hands on her hips. Well, whatever it is, I'll be ready. I'm going to grow stronger, help everyone, and make this village the happiest place it can be. With that, she leapt down from the rooftop and ran off toward her next adventure, her laughter echoing through the streets. The world was changing, but for Naruko, that only meant more chances to learn, to grow, and to bring light wherever she went. Aha! We're here? Came an excited shout. Hurry up, Baka, we're an hour late. Came a quick reply. Wait up for me. Pant Madara. Hashirama. Naruko called, lagging just a little behind. Her dark red, samurai-like armor felt heavy on her shoulders, and she was still getting used to moving in it. Naruko's outfit looked very different from what she used to wear. Under the armor, she had on a black, long-sleeved turtleneck shirt that split at the sides and reached down to her knees, along with black pants wrapped neatly around her shins. She also wore a pair of black gloves that made her feel strong and ready, even if she was still adjusting to everything. The armor itself was detailed and layered, matching Madara's piece for piece. Madara had spent the entire week proudly comparing it with Hashirama's, while Hashirama simply smiled and wandered around the village, curious about how much it had changed over time. Now, the three of them walked together down a long corridor toward their classroom. Today was important, they would be placed into official teams. Madara glanced over at Naruko, clearly thinking about something. So, you're saying there are only 2 Uchiha left? Naruko nodded, resting her hands behind her head as she walked. Yeah. One of them, Itachi, left the village a long time ago. And Sasuke? She paused, choosing her words more carefully this time. She's been really distant ever since. Distant? Madara repeated, curious. Naruko looked up at the ceiling, thinking. Yeah. She doesn't talk much, and she keeps to herself. But I think, deep down, she just needs someone to understand her. Hashirama smiled warmly. Then maybe that someone could be you. Naruko blinked, surprised, then broke into a bright grin. You think so? I know so, Hashirama said gently. Naruko's steps felt lighter after that. Even the heavy armor didn't bother her as much anymore. She straightened up, full of determination. All right, she said cheerfully. Let's do our best today. Together, they reached the classroom door, ready for whatever came next, with hope, friendship, and a brand new beginning. She's all broody and dark, Naruko said quietly, resting her chin in her hands as she spoke. Arrogant too. She doesn't talk to anyone much. But I can tell she's lonely. It's in her eyes. I tried to be friends with her, but she pushed me away, saying, "I don't need help from someone like you, and there's nothing wrong with me. Go away." Hashirama Senju glanced at Madara Uchiha with a thoughtful, faraway look. The situation reminded him strongly of his own past. "We're kind of rivals though," Naruko continued, looking down at her feet. "I'm always trying to catch up to her, but she keeps getting stronger and stronger. I feel like I haven't improved at all." Hashirama gently wrapped an arm around Naruko's shoulders, pulling her into a warm side hug. "Don't worry, Naru-chan. Madara and I will help you improve. You'll grow stronger step by step. I promise." Madara gave a small nod. "You will improve, Uzumaki. Training with us will make that certain. Even if Hashirama can be a bit foolish at times." "Hey!" Hashirama protested, laughing. "Don't be like that, Mada-chan. Team Hashirama is going to be amazing." "Team Hashirama?" Madara raised an eyebrow. "Who decided that?" "I did. It's a great name." "It sounds unnecessary," Madara replied calmly. Hashirama sighed dramatically, then brightened again. "Fine, what would you call it?" "Team 11. Hashirama slumped slightly. "That's not very exciting." "We don't need excitement," Madara said simply. "We need focus." Naruko giggled softly, watching the two go back and forth. Somehow, their bickering felt comforting. "We're here, you know," she said, pointing toward the classroom door. The two stopped mid-argument and looked ahead. "Oh," Hashirama said. "Let's go in," Madara added. Naruko smiled and pushed the door open. The three of them stepped inside together. The classroom fell silent. Students stared in surprise at the trio, especially at Naruko Uzumaki, who looked calmer and more confident than usual. Her bright presence felt different today, warmer, steadier. Iruka turned, crossing his arms, though a gentle pride showed in his eyes. "Naruko, Hashirama, Madara. You're late." Naruko rubbed the back of her head sheepishly. "Sorry, Iruka-sensei." "Take your seats," he said, though his voice softened slightly. The three made their way to the back and sat down together. Iruka cleared his throat. "Now then. Team 11 will consist of Naruko Uzumaki, Hashirama Senju, and Madara Uchiha." The class murmured in surprise. "You'll meet your Jonin instructor after lunch? Until then, you're dismissed." As Iruka left, the room buzzed with whispers. Some students glanced curiously at Naruko, while others watched Hashirama and Madara with awe. Naruko leaned back in her seat, letting out a small breath. She wasn't sure what the future held, but for the first time in a while, she didn't feel alone. Beside her, Hashirama was already smiling, and Madara sat quietly, thoughtful but calm. Naruko looked at both of them and smiled, a genuine, gentle smile. Maybe this team would become something special. "Is that all you wanted, Sasuke?" Naruko asked gently, her bright blue eyes steady and calm. Even though it had only been a week, she had grown close to both the energetic Hashirama and the quiet Sasuke. The three of them had spent their days exploring the Hidden Leaf Village, rediscovering familiar places and sharing small, happy moments together. Seeing Madara look upset made Naruko feel a little sad too, so she tried her best to keep the mood light. Sasuke gave a small nod and returned to his seat, quietly eating his lunch. Every now and then, he glanced at Madara, as if worried he might vanish at any moment. Hashirama looked deeply moved, his eyes shining as if he might cry from happiness. He placed a hand over his heart, clearly touched by the kindness shared among them. Madara soon returned to his usual calm expression, and the group finished their meal together. They spoke occasionally, chatting about simple things like their favorite foods and places in the village. After lunch, one by one, the teachers arrived to collect their teams. Two teachers stood out the most. Team 8 was guided by a young kunoichi with long, curly black hair and warm red eyes that sparkled with kindness. Team 10 was led by a calm man with short, spiky hair and a thoughtful expression. He carried himself with quiet confidence, and there was something reassuring about his presence. Soon, most of the students had left, until only Team 7 and Team 11 remained. And remained. And remained. 3 whole hours passed. To pass the time, Team 11 played card games using a deck Hashirama had somehow produced. Laughter filled their corner of the room as they played round after round. Meanwhile, Team 7 sat more quietly. Sakura talked non-stop, asking Sasuke questions and occasionally sighing about how long their teacher was taking. Sasuke remained mostly silent, and Sai observed everything with his usual calm curiosity. At last, Team 11 finished their 7th game. The score stood at Naruko, 5. Madara, 2. Hashirama, 0. Hashirama blinked in surprise, then laughed at himself. "I guess I need more practice," he said, smiling warmly. Naruko grinned proudly, clearly pleased but not boastful. Madara gave a small, amused smile as well. Just then, the classroom door slid open. A silver-haired teacher stepped inside, looking relaxed as ever. He glanced around the room, noticing the cards and the cheerful atmosphere. His eyes softened slightly when he saw Naruko, remembering how determined she had always been. Before he could say anything, something unexpected happened. A soft flutter came through the open window as a banner gently unfurled across the room. It read, "Team 11's teacher has arrived." Moments later, a lively woman with purple hair stepped forward, smiling brightly. "Hello there," she said cheerfully. "I'm Anko, your teacher. It's great to meet you all." Naruko's face lit up with excitement. Hashirama waved enthusiastically, while Madara gave a respectful nod. The long wait was finally over, and a new adventure was about to begin. Hashirama's eyes sparkled with excitement as she imagined all the fun their teams could have together. The new arrival seemed just as lively and full of energy as everyone else, and that made the moment feel even more special. Naruko Uzumaki was practically glowing with admiration. She had been watching the woman's entrance with wide eyes, completely amazed. It had been so cool and confident. Naruko couldn't help but dream about doing something just as impressive someday. She bounced slightly on her heels, her enthusiasm impossible to hide. Nearby, Madara Uchiha stood quietly, observing everything with a calm and thoughtful expression. Alongside him, Team 7 watched the scene unfold, each of them curious in their own way about how this new partnership would turn out. Kakashi Hatake gave a small, polite cough, bringing everyone's attention back to the present moment. He glanced over at Anko Mitarashi with a friendly smile, clearly pleased to be working together again. Stepping forward, Kakashi raised a hand in greeting. "Hello everyone. I'm Kakashi, and as you know, this is Anko." Anko waved cheerfully. "Hi there." Kakashi continued, his tone relaxed and welcoming. "Our teams will sometimes train and go on missions together, so we thought it would be a good idea to start with a joint meeting." Naruko's face lit up even more at that. Training together sounded like an amazing opportunity. She glanced at her teammates, already imagining the adventures they might share and the new things they could learn from one another. "It's really nice to meet all of you," Anko added warmly. The group began to relax, smiles spreading as introductions continued. The atmosphere felt bright and hopeful, as if this meeting was the beginning of many wonderful experiences to come. Dear YouTube family, that's all for now. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more content. Thank you for your support. Regards, Anime Octopus.